This is an interesting section. I was looking at this. I do see students will struggle with the ideas here. It's going to seem real basic, but we're going to order fractions and decimals like along a numbered line. This will mess with you a little bit. So again, another foundational skill, but let's take a look. It's useful. So we want to put all of these, first of all, on a numbered line. And so you might struggle. Obviously, we know how to do a whole number like 4, and we know how to do an integer like -3, but what about the rest of these? If there's ever any question, just divide them. So if I divide 4 into 3, I'm going to have to add a 0. So I'm going to get something around 0.7. I'm not going to go any farther than that. I'm going to get something around 0.7. So that's a little less than 1. Do you see? Well, actually, it's going to be 0.75. I guess I should have known that one. But so that's a little less than 1. So it's going here. Now, -1/4, as a decimal, that'd be 0.25. So I know that's a little less than 0. Now, 6/5, if you don't want to divide it, isn't that a little bigger than 1? So you can just put it right around there. Now, if you wanted to get more precise, you could turn it into a decimal. You'd get 1.2, so it'd be a little bit over there. Now, I would not expect you to get these exactly right, but you're approximating here. So -5/2, if I divided that, I'd have -2.5, so down here. So I guess the key here is to turn these into decimals if you can't naturally see it. So if I was doing this one in my head, I would just go, okay, this is a little bit, this is like 2 1/3. I could turn it into a mixed number. Yeah, that's how they did it. Remember how to turn it into a mixed number. 3 goes into 7 twice. You got 1 left over. So 2 1/3. And so in that fashion, I could just keep ordering them. Okay, so let's try some here. Now my number line's not going to be very precise, but I'm going to have -1 right there. So 1/3. So it's 0.33 as a decimal, so I'm going to put it right about there. That would be 1/3. So I guess I was doing it like this. Okay, 6/5. It's a little bit bigger than 1, so I'm going to put 6/5 there. -7/4. Now, if you're not sure, divide that in, and you're going to get -1 and a bit more. So wouldn't -8/4 be -2? But again, if you're not sure, just turn it into a decimal. Just divide it on your calculator if you need to, or use the skills we learned before. So what would we be at? We'd be somewhere around here. So -7/4. 9/2. If I divided that, I'd get 4.5. So 2, 3, 4.5 would be somewhere over here. 5 would be the next number, the -8/3. So if I divided this, I'd get -2. I'm going to do it as a mixed number. It gets me -2 and 2/3. So I'd be at -2 and almost down here somewhere, almost down to -3. Okay, now that's not very precise. I should have copied a number line to carry it over here, but okay, so we'll try one more of these here. So I got -2. Now 2/3, so let's say this is 0, here's 2, here's 1. Okay, so 2/3. I'm not quite there. It'd be 0.66 if you make it a decimal, so 2/3, not quite to 1. Now 7/5 is a mixed number, would be, would be 1 2/5. So we're past 1, but not quite to 2, so not even quite to a half, so maybe right here. Now -7/4 would be -1 3/4. Remember how you do that? 4 into 7 goes once, there's 3 left over, put it back over the 4. So we're -1 3/4, so we're somewhere right here. Okay, 7/2. If I turn that to a mixed number, I'm going to get 3.5. So let's say right here. Then we had 3 on there as well. -7/3. Okay, yeah, mixed number is the way to go, I think. Or you can just make them decimals on your calculator. This would be 2 1/3. -2 1/3. So we're at -1/2, and we're just a little bit past -7/3. Okay, now what they're going to do is, can you tell which number would be greater than or less than the other? Now the secret to this is, remember, our numbers go increasing. We go from left to right. So the farther you are on the left, the smaller you are. The farther you are on the right, the bigger you are. So so if you want to number them all, you can. I've got negative 2/3 and negative 1. Can you see, like, literally look at them here and you'd see negative 1 is farther. So this is actually greater than. Yeah, this can make your head spin a little bit. So negative 3.5 if you needed to mark it, and here's negative 3. So I'm farther left. Now negative 3/4 and negative 1/2. This is farther left, so that makes it a smaller number. Now this one's a little tricky. This would be negative 2 and 2/3. So he's down here. So he's farther left. So negative 2 is greater. Remember, it goes, we read left to right. Negative 2 is greater than negative 8/3. Okay, now I'm not going to do the number line, I don't think, on this. But so negative 1/3 is closer to 0 to negative 1, so he's bigger. Negative 1.5 is closer than negative 2 is to 0, so he's bigger. It means he's farther to the right. Now negative 2/3, can you see this? He's actually farther away from 0, so he's smaller. And negative 3, what is this? Negative 2 and 1/3. So negative 3 would be farther away from 0, so he's smaller. Okay, this may give you some trouble, so I'd recommend you pause the video and try it, but I'll give it a shot. So negative 1 is farther away, so he's smaller. Negative 2 and 1/4 is farther away, so he's smaller. Now this one's real tricky. Negative 3/5 is actually closer to 0 than this one. So turn them into decimals if you can't see that. Now what would this be? This would be 3 and 1/3. So negative 4 is farther away than negative 3 and 1/3, so I'd get a less than. All right, we're going to do the same thing here with decimals. I think this is going to be, what did they ask us to do? 4, oh yeah, 0.4. Yeah, I don't know what they're doing there. So if we were just doing 0.6 on the number line, so if I had 0, have 1, it'd be a little past halfway, wouldn't it? It'd be about there. And then the same here. We could get more precise, but I don't really care. So this would be 0.9. So we'd be getting close to 1, but not quite there. Okay. So negative 0.74 on a number line. So they're getting really precise here. But I know that this would be, here's negative 1. I'm about 3/4 of the way there. You could literally get this precise. I'm not really sure why you'd need to do that. I would just do it like this. I've got negative 1 and 0. Aren't I a little past halfway over there? So I would do something like this. So again, here's negative 1 and 0. So I'm getting closer to negative 1. I'd be right about there. Okay, so now we're going to compare decimals. Now be careful, this is tricky as well. So this is comparing 0.64 and 0.60. Well, remember, going left means bigger numbers. Do you see this would actually just be a tiny bit further? Wouldn't this be 0.64 and this is 0.6? So I'm a little past that. So this is the larger number. Now this is a little bit further from 0 than 0.40, so he's greater than. This is a little bit farther than this one. So this is 0.10, this is 0.18. He's gone a little farther, so he's greater than. Okay, now they're getting real tricky here. This is 0.83 and this is 0.803, so this is still farther. Do you see that? So that's a bigger number. He's greater. Now they keep doing exactly the same thing over and over again. I wish they'd vary it up a little bit, but this is a little bigger than this one because it's a farther decimal place. This is close to 0.71 and this is 0.76. He's farther. So greater. Okay, they did flip it, which is good. So this is close to 0.31. This is 0.35. He'd be farther to the right. So 0.0305 is less than. Okay, how about these here? So I've got negative 0.1 and negative 0.8. This is a little tricky. Let's see if they gave. I was hoping they had a number line here. So this is very close. Oops. This is very close to 0. And this is closer to negative 1. So this one is closer to 0, so he's bigger since he's farther right. Okay, can you see? Draw him on a number line if you need to, but he's closer to 0. So he's bigger. Okay, he's once again closer to 0, so that puts him farther to the right and makes him bigger. Okay, that was all. So people struggle with that. I'll get that in college algebra quite a bit. We're trying to put them on a number line. They can't see, especially the fractions. But yeah, so make sure that makes some sense to you. You want to be, if you're farther to the right on the number line, you're the larger number.